welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha. Shegun Ajayi will be interpreting for us today, but first, let's take a quick look at some of our top stories. President Tinubu administers oath of office on 3 more ministers. Vice President Kashim Shettima joins other world leaders for 10th anniversary of Belt and Road Initiative in China. And 2023 World Food Day reflects on global food supply chain towards eradicating hunger. And now to begin with, President Bola Tinubu has sworn in and inaugurated 3 more ministers into the Federal Executive Council. And State House correspondent Musbah Dan Wahab reports that the new ministers were sworn in before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting.
The 3 new ministers designate, screened and confirmed by the National Assembly through the Senate about 2 weeks ago were in the council chamber to join their colleagues. But then they need one more step to become bona fide members of the Federal Executive Council. Before the president, they commit themselves to service to the nation and pledge loyalty to their principal. Balarabe Abbas Lawal from Kaduna State, a replacement for the former governor Nasir El-Rufai, will serve as Minister of Environment. Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State will serve as Minister of Youth, to be supported in the ministry by Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State.
We are going to represent the youth. We are going to speak about the youth. We are going to do everything possible to make the youth feel the government.
Mr. President has charged the new members and in fact the continuing members to rededicate themselves to service, to be patriotic, to put all hands on deck to ensure that the mandate, especially in the 8 priority areas that he has identified, will be delivered to Nigerians.
The new Minister of Youth, Jamila Bio Ibrahim, is a daughter of a 2-time minister, Ibrahim Issa Bio.
I believe that she knows the challenges of the Nigerian youth, so I am sure that she'll be able to meet the wishes and aspirations of the Nigerian youth and meet the expectation of Mr. President.
This addition brings the number of the ministers in the cabinet to 48. From the State House, Musbah Dan Wahab, NTA News.
From Nigeria, now we take you to China, where some 130 leaders from Africa, South America, and other emerging markets are gathering for a meeting organized by the Chinese government that will mark the 10th anniversary of its Belt and Road Initiative. The report.
Some 130 leaders from Africa, South America, and other emerging markets are gathering in China for a meeting organized by the Chinese government that will mark the 10th anniversary of its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Denis Sassou Nguesso of the Congo, Ethiopia's Abiy Ahmed, and Nigeria's Kashim Shettima arrived Monday in Beijing. The summit, kicking off on October 17th, is the 3rd Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. The BRI is a plan that China launched a decade ago. Under the initiative, a signature policy of President Xi Jinping, Chinese companies have built infrastructures including ports, roads and power plants around the world in a bid to boost trade and economic growth. 1 decade down the line, some observers say the initiative may be losing steam as Beijing becomes more averse to risk and as the domestic economy struggles to bounce back to pre-pandemic growth levels. The main events of the 2-day meeting are scheduled on Wednesday. Global organizations will also be in attendance.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Beijing, the Chinese capital city, to participate in the 3rd Belt and Road Forum Initiative, a special event put together by the Chinese government to enhance connectivity among countries across the globe. He will be joining world leaders from over 130 countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America at the forum to deliberate on the theme, high-quality belt and road cooperation. together for common development and prosperity. The Vice President is expected to avail Nigeria of the platform provided by the forum to woo investors for more developmental projects.
Event has a very special theme titled High Quality Belt and Road Cooperation Together for Common Development and Prosperity. So we look forward to better trade and investment talks. We look forward to better implementation of sustainable development programs. We look forward to people-to-people exchanges, which are the main drives here. But apart from that, the Vice President too will also take time to engage in bilateral meetings. So it's going to be a robust engagement, wooing investors, of course, to availing investors and other participants the opportunities that abound in Nigeria, the resources that abound in Nigeria. Of course, the President has always harped on foreign direct investment, and so the Vice President will cue into that and ensure that, look, that no stone is left unturned to achieve the mandates and directives of Mr. President.
House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the 2023 edition of the Belt and Road Initiative will mark the 10th anniversary of the forum championed by the President of China, Xi Jinping, as an initiative for global infrastructure development strategy. In Turkey, Nigeria's ambassador Ismail Abba Yusuf has assured prospective investors of the present administration's commitment to ease of doing business and return on investment, as he urges them not to miss the opportunity of investing in Nigeria at this time. This was at the Nigerian Investment Forum at the just concluded 4th Tokyo African Business and Economic Forum in Istanbul. Benny Adams reports.
Strengthening economic ties and cultivating robust partnerships between Turkey and Nigeria with the shared objectives of fostering trade, development and mutual growth is the reason for this gathering.
They and the Nigerian Embassy.
And seated here are visionary entrepreneurs, business leaders and industry experts from Turkey and across Africa together in a bid to unlock countless potential trapped in the region. With 70 Chamber of Commerce under NASIMA, the private sector in a warm handshake with the public sector are selling Nigeria to the world.
Agriculture and everything Nigeria is an opportunity, I'll tell you. If you solve any problem in Africa, you make money. It's still a place where you need investment in almost every sector you can imagine. And there are willing business partners to take you there.
The train is taking off. You must take the train now. If you are not in Nigeria, you are not in Africa. This is simple truth.
The governments at the official level are doing everything possible to remove obstacles to trade, to enhance people-to-people contact between the two countries so that both sides can have mutually beneficial prosperity, peace and security.
They are interested in boosting Nigeria's $4.2 million creative sector in addition to mining, energy, textile and furniture, agriculture and the blue economy, alongside oil, gas, hospitality and tourism. And they all agree that if one is not doing business in Nigeria, then one is not yet in Africa. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
And talking security now, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetekun, at the ongoing International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in San Diego, engages the Assistant Secretary of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Service to enhance law enforcement and public safety in Nigeria. Acting IGP Egbetekun highlighted several key areas of collaboration, including the Special Intervention Squad in addressing critical security challenges in Nigeria. The International Assistant Secretary reaffirmed the United States' commitment in assisting the Nigerian police force in ongoing reform efforts within the force, emphasizing the importance of prompt action. The meeting equally stressed the need to strengthen efforts relating to sex offenders registry database, an essential tool in safeguarding communities from sexual offenders and public safety. recognizing the value of professional development. The IGP and the International Secretary agreed to consider programs aimed at training the trainers to enhance the capacity of the Nigerian police force through the development of skills. Liberia's President George Weah and opposition leader Joseph Boakai are neck-to-neck in the race for the presidency as vote tallying continues from last week's presidential and legislative polls. Justin Bermunye reports that provisional results published on Sunday by the National Election Commission showed Weah had 43.8% to Boakai's 43.54%.
The country's National Election Commission has 15 days from the date of the election to announce the final results. If neither candidate gets more than 50%, a runoff will be held on 7th November. In the 2017 poll, the two men also faced a second round of voting which Weah ultimately won with 61.5% to Boakai's 38.5%. Regional and international election observers last week described the polls as largely peaceful polls and with a high voter turnout. The vote was the first to take place in Liberia since the United Nations ended its peacekeeping mission there in 2018. It was created after more than 250,000 people died in two civil wars between 1989 and 2003. The West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, of which Liberia is a member, has warned against groups attempting to declare premature victories. It called on Liberians to exercise restraint as they wait for the official provisional results. While Weah, a beloved soccer star, has been hugely popular, his 6 years in office have been marred by corruption allegations and ongoing economic hardship. Boakai has campaigned on promises to rescue Liberia from what he calls Weah's failed leadership. Justin Bermunye, NTA News.
And now from Liberia to Burkina Faso, where the transitional government paid tribute in Ouagadougou to former revolutionary President Thomas Sankara, assassinated in a coup d'etat on October 15, 1987. In a ceremony marking the 36th anniversary of his death. And over now to Francis Udojo for details of that report.
The ceremony held in Ouagadougou was attended by the relatives of the late leader and the president of the transition government. The late Captain Thomas Noel Sankara is recognized as a hero of the nation. Minister of the Civil Service of Burkina Faso, Basolma Bazir, pronounced that the day of homage to the late captain is to be celebrated every 15th of October in Ouagadougou. President of the transition, Captain Traoré, laid foundation stone for the Thomas Sankara Mausoleum, which will be built on the site of the assassination of the late Thomas Sankara and of 12 of his companions. Bolivar Charles de Gaulle, adjoining the memorial, was also renamed after the Pan-Africanist icon and former president. Thomas Sankara, who came to power in a coup in 1983, was killed along with 12 of his companions by a commando of Putkists. Former President Blaise Compaoré, who was Sankara's right-hand man, was sentenced to life in prison over Sankara murder in 2022. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International. We will take a break now. More reports ahead. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Now to food security. In the world today, millions of people on a daily basis across continents go to bed hungry. It is for this reason that the United Nations has dedicated the 16th of October every year for member nations to reflect on the global food supply chain towards eradicating hunger. Musa Baliu now tells us more.
The United Nations report on global food supply indicates that 800 million people around the world are hungry. The irony of it is that almost 1 billion tons of food is thrown away each year.
Zero hunger is achievable. This World Food Day, I call on governments, the private sector, civil society and academia to work together to prioritize feeding the hungry. to bring ending this crisis to the top of the global agenda and to invest in long-term solutions that provide everyone with enough to eat.
This year's World Food Day is turning attention to water, which is identified as a necessity for nutritious and healthy food. Agriculturists believe that sustainable management of water for agriculture and food production is essential to ending hunger, achieving the SDGs, and preserving it for future generations.
For this, we need both national and regional designs. Investment in innovative, efficient water management practice is vital, including in modern irrigation and storage technologies and science-based solutions to address water scarcity and harnessing flooding.
Minister of Agriculture and Food Security says government plans to harvest flood water for all year-round irrigation farming.
Assessment and operational appraisal visits to the River Basin Development Authorities has begun in earnest and will be deployed for the 2023-2024 dry season farming of the federal government in conjunction with states and local governments.
Nigeria has an estimated 267 billion cubic meters of surface water and 92 billion cubic meters of groundwater per annum, with over 200 dams, with a combined storage capacity of 34 billion cubic meters. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Joining us now via Zoom to speak more on the World Food Day is Action Aid Country Director in Nigeria, Andrew Mamedu. Mr. Andrew, we want to say thank you very much for finding time to talk to us on the news.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right, the theme for this World Food Day is water. Water is life, water is food. Leave no one behind. What is the aim of spreading awareness of water scarcity and the link between food and water?
Okay, thank you very much. Water is life. Food is life. Leave no one behind. So clearly, there is a limit to humans can go without food. And there is also a limit to which humans can go without water. There are things that are right, so right to education, right to health, those are rights. You could see people surviving without education, which is not supposed to be. Even with minimal health care, people still survive, which is not also supposed to be. But for food and water, you just can count a few number of days that people will be able to survive without that. So clearly, these two are among the most essential human rights we have as citizens. So clearly, it's absolutely important for every Nigerian to have right to food and right to water. They are both linked because, for instance, in the makeup of human body, we are made over 50% of the human body is made up of water. That's one. Secondly, the food production that we have, the food farming that we have, farming can only come to bear when you have water. So you need water to be able to farm. The reason why we have what we call farming season, if you notice, farming season is linked to raining season. So farming is majorly linked to water, the raining season. So whenever there's the rain, that's where you have the farming. And after a while, you go harvesting. However, in other parts of the world, and even in some parts of the country, very few, you have what you call irrigation. So irrigation farming, it's now a way of providing water to our plants to produce. So it then produces food for us to consume and be alive. So food is life, water is life, leave no one behind. So that is a clear linkage between both of them.
Okay, now, so having established that fact, I'd like to ask you, how can the government harness water resources in the country, especially with the revival of the Lake Chad?
Yeah, the Lake Chad. So the Lake Chad is it's an important discussion, and we have been saying at Action Aid, it's a discussion that has to be taken at the international level. The Lake Chad has shrunk by 90%. So 10%. It has caused unemployment. It has contributed to large level of insecurity. It has contributed to the farmers' header crisis we have in the country. It has contributed to hunger, poverty. So the lake chart shrinking has contributed a lot of challenges, not just in Nigeria, at least 4 countries. So clearly, if it transcends these borders, then it requires the attention of the international community to take a second look at the Lake Chad and see, how do we recharge the Lake Chad? There have been a series of discussions around this. There have been series of plans and analysis around recharging it, even up to getting budget and possible places where the recharging can come from Congo River Basin and some other locations where that can come from. And analysis was done. We need and initially it was 15 billion, but the last analysis, the most recent one, says it's up to $50 billion to be able to recharge the river basin. Well, guess what? When you do that, you are responding to the need of minimum of 30 million persons. So minimum of between 30 and 50 million persons would benefit from the recharging of the Lake Chad. So that brings huge irrigation for 4 countries. So imagine the level of food security countries like Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger would have from the Lake Chad, that are all sharing from the Lake Chad. Imagine the level of development it would bring to this country. Imagine the level of unemployment it would deal with. Imagine the level of insecurity, food security, and security itself that it would deal with. And common analogy is, currently we've been having the Ukraine-Russian crisis, and on the average, in a month, about that amount is spent on a month prosecuting those wars from both ends. And some of these amounts are contributed from various countries.
Okay.
So if we can contribute so much money in prosecuting wars, why can't we contribute similar amount to save lives? Hundreds are dying every day because of food shortage, food hunger. So food security is important, and we need to deal with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Mamedu, for finding time to talk to us on the news on the World Food Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, still talking agriculture. The future of Africa's agriculture in the midst of climate crisis is engaging the minds of key players who are in Abuja for the inaugural conference of One Accelerating Agricultural Adaptation in Africa. Calvin Hunayi reports.
Council, this conference has only one purpose: finding a way to sustain food production as flooding is wiping farmlands across Africa, thereby endangering food security and livelihoods. With much of climate change financing tilting towards mitigation, stakeholders say it is now time for governments in Africa to pay more attention to adaptation strategies.
Putting together this conference will enable us identify solutions that can be applicable by looking at those solutions that have worked in similar countries like Nigeria within the African context, and then try to see how we can elaborate that.
There are climate variations. It means increase in pests, decrease in production, household production from the farms or agricultural practices.
Intervention agencies in Nigeria, whose mandate centered on rural development, are hopeful that the outcome of this conference will assist in redefining livelihoods improvement for rural farmers.
We have issues of agricultural development and the challenges that flooding come along with, and we feel this is a very great opportunity that we can utilize and harness and see how we improve on the life of the communities.
The Northeast as a whole is an agrarian area, and you know that Northeast constitutes 1/3 of the landmass of the entire nation. But we also know that even though agriculture is the mainstay of their economy, they are threatened by the devastating effects of climate change, which has caused drought, desertification, drying up of Lake Chad, forced migration.
Ahead of COP28, recommendations here will form part of Africa's position for the negotiation blocks on agriculture. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewunoye, NTA News.
The Court of Appeal is adjudicated to adjudicate on all appeals emanating from the decisions of the elections petition tribunals across the country in Abuja and Lagos divisions. The president of the court, Justice Monica Dongban Mensem, gave the directive in Abuja in light of these. All appellate cases concerning governorship, national and state assembly elections from state elections tribunal judgments will now be heard in the 2 divisions instead of the 20 divisions of the court. The Abuja division will handle appeals from 19 northern states, while 17 southern states cases move to Lagos. And still on legal matters, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has voided the declaration and return of the senator representing Adamawa North Senatorial District, Elisha Abo. The 3-man panel of justices voided the election of Elisha Abo of the APC in favor of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Amos Yohana. Both candidates are and others participated in the February 25th, 2023 National Assembly election. And up next is our weather report. We end the news. Thank you for staying with us. I am Charles Alpha. Shegun Ajayi has been our sign language interpreter. Thanks for watching.